what you're going to see is real world examples of the collapse of top of funnel, things that can be usurped by AI and just explained in an answer where there's really no need to go and click through to a SaaS website to go get the answer. So this is stuff like glossary content, FAQ content, definition style content, what is X. This old model of just hoarding traffic for the sake of hoarding traffic, it's really dying. ChatGPT, Perplexity, AI Overviews, Gemini, Google AI Mode, and Quad. And my client gets recommended 86% of the time. It's a statistical lottery mechanism, basically. The more your brand gets associated with a thing, the more likely it is that these LLMs are going to arrive at a consensus. When people talk about revealing anonymous website visitors, our B2B comes up so much that if we don't mention our B2B, we're going to look like we don't know what we're talking about. Now, humans have absolutely zero incentive to read any corporate blog content. AI is the discovery layer. People search, explore, narrow down their ideas through AI search. And then Google becomes the verification layer. So what's going to end up happening is SEO traffic is going to continue to plummet. AI SEO becomes the dark funnel, and then direct traffic and branded traffic are the beneficiaries of this on the backside.
Welcome back to the show. Today's guest is a growth advisor. He's the principal consultant at Marketing Advice. He's a pioneer of AI SEO for B2B SaaS, and he's here to demystify this new way of ranking through search. We are excited to be joined today by Gaetano DiNardi. Welcome to the show, Gaetano.
What's up, gentlemen? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. And Adam, what are 3 things that the audience will learn if they stick around until the end today?
Number 1, you'll learn the framework she uses to identify which of your pages are at risk for being summarized away and how to save them. Number 2, we'll reveal why traditional search volume is a vanity metric and show you how to find hidden high intent queries that actually drive demos. And number 3, you'll see why multimedia, which is video and audio, is the only remaining defense against AI generated slop and how to integrate it into your site to boost dwell time and trust.
My gosh.
Nice.
Well, we got a lot to get through. So before we start, we like to do this every week. But Gaetano, could you please just tell us a little bit so the audience has context about Marketing Advice and about what you do?
Yeah, basically, it's a boutique consultancy ran by me. I'm a one-man business. I have a junior consultant that is now supporting me, but between us and AI, we cover a lot of ground and we hit above our weight class. I take a small number of clients and I service every client with the utmost degree of care, love, and attention. I don't take too many, but I go above and beyond for the clients that I work with. And straight B2B SaaS, I was doing classic SEO and a lot of Google ads and paid search in the past. But now with the craze of AI SEO, that's what I'm calling it, by the way. We're going all in on AI SEO. That's what everybody wants, and that's what everyone's getting. So, yeah, B2B SaaS, AI SEO.
Who is your ideal customer in terms of like size, employee count, revenue, like stage or whatever?
Yeah, the type of business that I work really well with is a company that has enough of a brand footprint, enough of a digital footprint so that we can actually make an impact. Because if you're starting from like absolute ground zero, it's going to be really tough. You got a few years of brand work to be doing before I think SEO can be valuable. And then on the other aspect of it, I need a team, or at least a team with a mindset that is willing to try stuff, that is willing to be forward thinking, that wants to run experiments, that is going to be cool and fun to work with, the intangibles. I look for that stuff as well. So I don't really rule it out based on how much money they make or how many employees they have. I look at it as, can I do damage for this client in terms of impact? Do they have enough brand and digital footprints to where I can work with this? And then what's the dynamic going to be like on a week-to-week basis? Are they going to be fun and enjoyable to work with? Are they going to respect the ideas that I bring to the table? Basically, are we going to be able to kick ass or not?
Right.
If I think the answer is yes, we're in there. If I think the answer is no, then I don't take it.
It's a good
Love that.
position to be in, G.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to have an impact and do damage. That's really what I'm about.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, let's dive into AI SEO. I think that's probably the best acronym. It kind of sums it up. Everyone's going to be confused by everything else. So we're calling it AI SEO all episode. So my first question for you, there's this stat, and I think you've posted about this stat, that B2B organic traffic is down like 40% in the past year, something like that. So my question for you is this do you think this is sort of like a temporary algorithm shakeup, like almost Google doesn't know where to parse things, or are we really witnessing more of almost the permanent end of that informational blog post era, as a lead gen tool? Curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote about this on Search Engine Land. I called this the great normalization of SEO. I'll post it in the chat so everybody can refer to it later or now if you want to browse through it. But essentially, certain types of pages and traffic have gotten hit way harder than other types of pages and traffic. So in this write-up that I posted on Search Engine Land, what you're going to see is real-world examples of the collapse of top of funnel. So usually it's things that can be usurped by AI and just explained in an answer where there's really no need to go and click through to a SaaS website to go get the answer. So this is stuff like glossary content, FAQ content, definition style content, what is X, right? All those types of things are not only the things that are getting usurped by AI, that you're getting scraped, they're summarizing your content and using it as the answer summary, but these are also the types of pages and content that they don't recommend brands. They're just informational, everyday knowledge, right? So there's this type of content now is very, very low impact and very, very low ROI. Like if somebody came to me today and said, yeah, our SEO strategy should be create a glossary of terms, I would say you're clueless. And so this old model of just hoarding traffic for the sake of hoarding traffic, it's really dying.
So I guess a question how, I don't want to get, I'm going to get into it immediately, I guess. So it was very easy to go to Ahrefs, still is, see your traffic, see the uptick in traffic, see what pages are driving traffic. So if we're, now getting referenced and cited in AI or AI overviews, how does that get measured? Is there a place in the Google, whatever, your search console or somewhere where you can actually see, the cited, how many times your pages have been cited by, say, Gemini? Is that trackable now or?
Yeah. I use a third-party tool called Scrunch AI. There's a lot of tools out there like it. I'm not partial or favorable to Scrunch AI. I'm not a endorser. They're not giving me incentive to go and promote them or anything. They're just the tool that I use because I like the founders. And in the early days of the tool, I gave them a lot of critique and they were very receptive to that critique and they made changes based on my feedback. So I feel that the tool really allows me to do what I need to do. But yes, it is a tool that allows you to see where your clients or your company brand is being mentioned across however many prompts you want to track, across how many ever AI LLM platforms you want to track it across. So it can get really big, really fast in terms of the amount of things you're tracking. But the thing that I'm Scrunch AI, by the way, somebody in the comments will ask me Scratch. So actually, it's just
how do you
Scrunch.
spell that, by the way?
Scrunch.
Is it scrunch with a K? Scrunch with a C?
Scrunch with a C.
I'll drop in the.
Yeah. Or you can just go to scrunch.com.
Scrunch.
Yeah.
I think their SSL certificate may have expired. Oh no. There's scrunch.com. They're not AI.
There we go.
Yeah,
Sandy
yeah, it's a nice domain, nice and clean. The founders are great guys, really smart. But the thing is, I don't want anybody to think that you need a certain tool to be successful. Like, you should be tool agnostic. Like, a lot of these tools are out there and they all do a lot of the same stuff. So you need to apply the thinking and the brains behind the tool to make it useful for the clients or for your company. Because the tool only, and this is the dirty little secret about these tools, they're just a reflection of, for the most part, what's already happening. And I can share my screen and take you guys through some examples of that if you want. But I think that is something that not a lot of people are talking about.
Let's do a screen share. We love a good screen share.
All right. I don't mind. I don't mind.
There's also, I guess, while you're pulling that up, there's a good question in the chat. So I think there's this so the great normalization, right? Like, I love the way you put that. So there's a question in the chat, like, when it comes to sort of marketing questions, it looks like someone said, looks like the big players in the space like Neil Patel, Brian Dean, the usual gang are always being mentioned in AI unless you add modifiers for location. And just curious how AI will change this in the future. So are we just in a place where it's kind of using all of that existing, like, giant bank of information that's already there, and everyone's still getting cited the way, at the frequency they would before, but we're in the start of the normalization? Is that kind of how you view it?
Well, to undo training data is really hard, and it takes a really, really long time. Like, those guys have such sticky, cemented digital footprints in these topics that you're not just going to go and unroot that. It's the same reason why, even to this day, Rand Fishkin gets recommended as like the top SEO expert. He hasn't been pushing SEO knowledge or insights or doing whiteboard Fridays or writing about SEO in like 10 years. But still, that footprint from his legacy, the legacy era of Rand Fishkin being the king of SEO, he probably has passed down the crown to Michael King or someone like that by today's standards. But he still has that footprint that's so sticky. So yeah, like, you're always going to see the Neil Patels, the Brian Deans. And that actually goes right into the example that I'm going to show you now. It's a great question that's relevant to what I'm about to show you. What we're looking at is prompt monitoring. I have non-branded prompts filtered because I only want to track non-branded for right now. And right now, what it's showing is how often across all the categories and all the prompts that I'm tracking, 150 custom prompts, over 3,000 responses across ChatGPT, Perplexity, AI Overviews, Gemini, Google AI Mode, and Quad. How often does my client get recommended? And my client gets recommended 86% of the time, well above all the other competitors out there. And we're tracking everything by category or by topic. So we have the prompts broken down by data loss prevention, employee monitoring, insider threat detection, user activity monitoring, and workforce analytics. Now, if we were to just double click into one of these topics like employee monitoring, you can now view this in the lens of, okay, if we just isolate to employee monitoring, how often does the client get recommended across 66 custom prompts for employee monitoring? And you can see 93% of the time compared to 91% of the time for the second ranking competitor, compared to 81% of the time for the third ranking competitor. And then it drops off a cliff for the fourth ranking competitor at 61%. You can see the third party citations here representing like a big chunk of the overall citation pie. Our brand represents 6% of the citations, and then competitors represent the other 27% of the pie. But what I actually want to show you is, something like this, right? Like, you can double click into any individual prompt, like best employee monitoring software. All right. What it's showing here is we're getting recommended 99% of the time The other competition is getting recommended 90%, 90%, and 68%. All this really is actually a reflection of who the category kings are. Like who's already winning the category. And it almost is the perfect representation of the market conditions. We were already a winner in this category long before AI happened. And these other companies were already the second and third place contenders long before AI happened. We didn't actually do anything special to make this happen. We just are there because we were already there. And if you also go down here and look at brand presence versus citations, what you'll notice is that we are almost never getting the citation, but yet our brand is recommended. We have the brand presence everywhere, but our citation is never showing up. Why is that? Well, if you were to pick any one of these, like pick, ChatGPT here, you can see the question, best employee monitoring software. You can see week over week, our brand is getting all the presence and all the recommendation. However, we're not getting the citation. Why is that? Because third parties are the ones that are driving this result. So you see Forbes, best employee monitoring. You see business.com, best employee monitoring reviews. And we're getting recommended here because we are on these pay to play affiliate sites. And so are the other brands. Right. And so that's just one quick exercise you can go and do to see like, all right, what's actually influencing visibility for this high intent result? No amount of content you do on your own site is going to get you into that mix. You have to be on the third parties to win, or at least be a part of the mix for that high intent third party, ecosystem.
That's
okay.
interesting.
Can I pose a scenario and ask a question?
Please.
So let's say I was not on that list. I was like number 5.
Yeah.
And I was not on those pay to play affiliate sites. Would your recommendation be, look at that? The reason they're getting those mentions is because they're on those pay to play affiliate sites. Go do that. That's how you're using that tool basically, right?
Yes, absolutely. Now here's where it gets a little, tricky, right? Do you need to bid as high as possible to be the number one recommendation on all those affiliate sites and bleed your pockets dry? You probably don't even need to do that. You just need to be on the page somewhere so that you can be part of the consideration set. Now, the other thing that happens is like, there's this mirroring effect that happens. Once these sites see you on one page, then all these other sites that are doing top 10 best, top 20 best list teardowns, they start copying your brand and putting you into other new lists because you appear on the main flagship listings. So it becomes this copycat effect where you start to appear everywhere once you start showing up on the flagship destinations. It's kind of like, hey, Adam Robinson standing next to Jeff Bezos. He must be really important. He's going to all these parties with Jeff Bezos. Now, all of a sudden, Denzel Washington wants to invite you to his party, and so on and so forth. That's kind of the network effect that happens as a part of having your brand on these big pages.
That's interesting. And SEO is all about driving, putting out a bunch of content on your site. Yes, there was still some third party and blog sharing and all this other stuff, but it's very much about publishing your own stuff on your site. It seems like the AI now with AI SEO, it's inversed a little bit in terms of the split. You want most of your stuff to be recommended by third parties to recommend your actual thing, and then they'll link out from that mention, rather than they'll get to your page through, basically the search pages.
Yeah, I have a good slide to share that can help people sort of conceptualize this in a simple way. So let me just go into slideshow mode. All right. Let me know if you guys can see this okay.
Yes, it's perfectly clear.
All right, nice. All right, cool. So there's really 2 ways to make this happen. You get mentioned, your brand gets recommended you don't necessarily need to be cited for that to happen, just like we saw. So in this case, to get the mention, you just basically need to be maybe linked from a third-party site, or even mentioned a lot in a third-party site or various third-party sites in relation to a topic. And then eventually you're just going to start appearing in the training data. And that's the way you're going to show up and get recommended. Is, it's a statistical lottery mechanism, basically. The more your brand gets associated with a thing, the more likely it is that these LLMs are going to arrive at a consensus, meaning that, yes, when people talk about revealing anonymous website visitors, our B2B comes up so much that if we don't mention our B2B, we're going to look like we don't know what we're talking about. So that's one way. And then the other way, which is a little bit more hackable, is actually getting the citation and ranking that way. So if you rank in, say, classic SEO with a page, it's very, very likely that you're going to get the citation. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the brand recommendation, though, but that's almost guaranteeing that you have a really high chance of being the source of information that the LLM uses if you rank highly in a classic sense. That's correlation that is pretty widely agreed upon in the SEO community.
So I know there's people in here who are, I'm sure, doing SEO, right? Like kind of traditional SEO. So I guess from a, like a structural standpoint, when it comes to their content or even how they're thinking about content, how they're writing it, whatever, is there like a couple of specific changes you would recommend they make to their process to be, and maybe it's not an overhaul, but just to be a fit in this AI SEO world?
Yeah. So it's not a silver bullet by any means, but yes, there are certain things you can do that will help. I'm just going to refer to one study from Kevin Indig. I'll share the link to this in the chat as well. But basically, Kevin Indig did a study on 1.2 million ChatGPT citations, and he found that 44% of all the citations come up from the first 30% of your text. So he calls it the ski ramp. And the guys at Ahrefs have called this BLUF, BLUF, bottom line up front. So if you think about how like a slide deck works, and you're presenting it to, say, a bunch of executives, you always start with the executive summary. You put the most pertinent details right in the beginning. You don't want to, make a CEO sit through 30, 40 slides and then hit him with the uppercut knockout punchline at the end. You want to start with the uppercut knockout punchline, get to the point, and then put all the, appendix after. That's the same way you should start to think about content to really make it, the most suitable for LLMs, right? So he had some other points in here too, like definitive language beats vague language. That's absolutely true. This is something that I haven't experimented with yet, but I believe it. Question-based H2s get treated like user prompts. I could totally see how that works. Entity density matters. That's what I was basically talking about before with regard to like the word cloud of things surrounded your brand is really important. And then he says in terms of the writing style, the sweet spot is business grade. So it shouldn't be too dumbed down like a random Joe Blow LinkedIn post, but it should also not be PhD level sophistication with buzzwords and jargon. So, I think those are the best, most practical takeaways in terms of, is there anything we can do with our content structure to make it pop? It just comes down to, common sense, good writing, that's what it comes down to.
It's funny because that's like when we have a lot of episodes on here about LinkedIn, writing on LinkedIn, getting traction, followers, building an audience. And something we always say is like, you really always need to contextualize your content for the platform that it's being distributed on. So a newsletter is going to be written different than a one-to-one email, which will be written different than a LinkedIn message versus a LinkedIn post. Like these are all, you could be saying the same thing, but you have to structure them differently for those different mediums. And it's interesting because like the way you're talking about writing the blog posts or just the, the SEO content is more similar to the way that we talk about writing on LinkedIn, which is like, have a great hook, right? Like kind of give them a
Yeah.
summary of what you, and maybe there's less provocative nature or, kind of stuff like that than you would use on LinkedIn, but it is a different way of sort of structuring your ideas, which I think is like the greatest kind of lesson that people can take away, or one of, from this call. So, or this show. Sorry, we're not on. It feels like we're on a Zoom call, except we got all these people. But yeah, from the show. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Dude, there's another thing I wanted to bring up that I think matters a lot. And there's people that are asking like, is there anything different between classic SEO and AI SEO? It all seems like it's the same. Well, I have an example that I can share with you guys that kind of illustrates why it's not all the same. If that would be helpful.
100%. I have the same question now. After going through all this, I mean, the previous thing you just went through gave me a good sort of delineation for like what's different. But yeah, let's keep diving into it.
Well, I put a link to a Substack post that I wrote, which basically explains why you can still rank number one in the classic positions, right? So you can rank in the classic position number one and the 10 blue links, as they call it, for any given keyword. But that doesn't mean that your brand is going to get the recommendation. Like, what is possible is they will just scrape, summarize, and steal your content, and then go and recommend all the other brands instead of you. And that actually happened to a client of mine, where we did an alternatives listing to the best alternatives to Salesforce Service Cloud for customer experience. And they did not recommend my client, customer.com, as one of the alternative options that should be considered. They just scraped all of our content and recommended all the other players in the market, like Zendesk, Microsoft Dynamics, Freshworks, etc. And the reason I believe that happened is because they do not position themselves in the way that they go to market enough as, hey, we are actually an ideal alternative to Salesforce Service Cloud. Now checking it again, I saw that over time, they actually did make it into the AI mode recommendations. So that might have changed from the time that I wrote this piece to now. But at first, just because we ranked highly didn't mean that we were getting the brand recommendation. So that is one, I think, massive difference, aside from the collapse of click-through rates, is that you could still rank in the classic sense, but you may not be recommended in the AI summary.
That is interesting, which brings me to a question that I've been curious about. So like, traditionally when we would go, I got to stop saying that word, traditional SEO. So like the way I think a lot of us do this or would do this, we go to Ahrefs, we'd check out the keyword volume, see what's difficult or maybe easier to rank for, try to line out our top of funnel keywords versus our bottom of funnel keywords, and just start hammering out content. So I'm curious, like I've seen you write, and hopefully I don't misquote you, but I've seen you talk about this idea that like search volume is like a little bit of it can be a vanity metric sometimes. It can be a little bit of a lie or like a misguided, strategy just going off of search volume. So so nowadays, or I guess now with AI SEO, like this keyword difficulty, this sort of like monthly traffic volume metrics, like essentially, like if someone is really trying to optimize either half for SEO, half for AI SEO, or just like thinking about optimizing for AI SEO, what are those metrics in their Search Console or in Ahrefs should they be looking at?
Yeah, I would throw a lot of the traditional ideas out the window, because it's going to lead you down the path of old school thinking, which is, match one keyword to one page, rank, get the traffic to, demo requests to, SEO ROI, which that equation is really breaking. The new way that I approach it is something called query fan out, where you can use Google AI Studio to get what's called the grounding with Google searches. So you go into Google AI Studio, you type in a topic, and you enable the grounding with Google search little toggle, and it will give you all the related searches around a topic that the AI thinks when it starts thinking. It'll give you all that information. And so you can basically go and reverse engineer how Gemini thinks, which feeds right into AI mode. There's like a high overlap there. And you can build out topic clusters that way. And search volume is not associated with any of that stuff. It's just how the AI thinks about information retrieval. And so it's you put in an idea or a question, and it says you probably want to know more about this, you probably want to know more about that, and then you build your fan out in a clustering model. That's a more modern way to think about content planning, rather than just sorting by the highest search volume, that everybody else has already published content on. You're not going to find new ideas, right? And then the other way is just straight up listening to sales calls, extracting all the transcripts, and then using AI to analyze customer problems and pain points that you're never going to find really anywhere else, right? So like an example of that is something that I did with a client and found, pages like this to build.
By the way, that is my favorite thing. I think that is the number one thing anybody, even if you're not using a lot of AI, can do today and make a massive impact in their understanding of their customers. I mean, and their business.
Exactly.
Customer call transcripts, have it summarize all of that qualitative information, and you are going to get a trove of just insights back. So I just want to throw that out. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, 100%. So like in this case, let's take the concept of data loss prevention software or DLP tools. You start with that in Ahrefs, and you're just going to get, DLP tools, best DLP solutions, all the stuff that everybody's gunning for. But you're not going to get, ChatGPT DLP data exfiltration prevention tool. You're not going to get, DLP data loss prevention for the financial industry, which you get a big lead from like Bank of America coming in because he was looking for something about preventing data exfiltration through AI tools like ChatGPT, and that came up on a sales call. And now all right, well, we need a ChatGPT data exfiltration page, and then we need a financial services DLP solutions page as well. And those are ideas that you would not get from the Google AI Studio. I mean, you might, but very unlikely. And you definitely wouldn't get it from Ahrefs because it's too new of a topic. It doesn't have demand yet, or very, very low demand to the extent that the tool doesn't figure it out. And so these are the things that drive whale leads at the enterprise level that have almost no volume. And this is a much better way to think about SEO rather than the old method.
That's awesome. Interesting. So, something I want to ask you is more like around content quality. So like, I think when we talk about like generating, and this is not unique to SEO, when we talk about generating leads through content, I think the first thing people start doing is just coming up with content, just banging it out. It's not quality. Yeah. They don't really know why they're writing what they're writing. They're not really structuring it in any meaning or specific or meaningful way. It's certainly meaningful for that actual lead gen channel.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, basically, I think there's a stat out there. It's like 80% of B2B blogs are ignored by both humans and bots. Right. So is that because of quality of writing? Is it a format issue? Is it the fact that there's so much content out there? Like, I guess, what is the way to stand out? And this could be, whether it's for AI SEO or traditional SEO, like, is there a guideline you have? I would assume, and maybe I'm wrong, that you're not the guy who's like, yeah, go bang out 100 blog posts using ChatGPT this afternoon. So I guess what should they do instead, and how should they think about it? By they, I also mean us, because Adam and I are like deeply curious about this. I mean, honestly, like you've already opened up so much stuff. Like I didn't know about Scrunch. You've already kind of dumped a bunch of knowledge that I think everybody in here has such a better understanding. We're only 2/3 of the way through the show too, so I appreciate that. But yeah, just curious about when it comes to actually getting the content out, what your guidelines are for quality, frequency, volume, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think there's things that are like you can look at a page and just know by looking at it that it's objectively better than other things that are out there. Like I guess I'll just show you guys one example, something that was a really tough accomplishment for me, and I think for any SEO this would be a very, very difficult thing to achieve. But one of the hardest keywords that I ever ranked for in my life, I'm still there today, is Zendesk alternatives. It's been at the top, and it also gets my client recommended here in the Gemini overview. We're in the right hand tile of the AI, and this page is the heaviest hitting page on the site. It gets more traffic than like all the other pages on the site combined. I think it even gets just as much traffic as the homepage. And this page has gone through many, many iterations over many years. And it is a 36-minute read, so it's comprehensive and it's in depth. But one of the things that we focused on with a page like this is really getting third-party links and references throughout the content, so that it doesn't just seem like you put it into ChatGPT and ChatGPT just give you a list of tools. When people go through stuff like this, they actually want to get a bit of an opinion and a perspective. They don't just want to know anything that's neutral. Like AI tools are neutral. They're not going to position a page like this. Reasons to look for an alternative to Zendesk, and finding reasons that people are actually frustrated. And we built a cluster around this. So we did Zendesk pros and cons, and we linked all these Zendesk pages together. So I have a whole methodology around how to properly go after a competitor with SEO. This is just part of my methodology. But we have a pros and cons teardown here. I'll just go back to the alternatives page for a second. But already you can see that it's not just a straight list of tools with no thought or effort that has gone into it. Now, we also don't really diss the other players on this listing. We just overemphasize why we think customer is the ideal choice. We promote the features, reasons to switch, what real users are saying on G2, why customer wins, some of the ways customer exceeds expectations, video, what real people are saying on LinkedIn. Right. So we, kind of go a little bit above and beyond there instead of just making it a straight list. Right. And then it has Freshdesk and, the other players on the market. Yeah, it's comprehensive. Do we think people are actually reading all this stuff? Probably not. But we try to build this page in a way that, has an opinion, has a position, has an angle, and is not just, hey, here's a straight list of tools. There you go.
That was the LinkedIn hack of probably 2 years ago now, was the list of tools. I think like everyone referenced in these giant lists.
I mean, dude, people are still
doing it.
Like ABM agencies just put out the same 5 versions of an infographic over and over again. And the reason they do that is because it drives 80% of their pipeline. It's like, why would I put thought into a post when this list of tools is going to do better and take me no time, right?
Now, I agree. Now, there's something else I will say about like perspective-based content. The place where people are going to put that stuff out now is either LinkedIn. So someone like you, Adam, with a really large following, you have opinionated content, you're engaging, you have a whole method to what you're doing. can you imagine if you put your opinion content on like the our B2B blog? Like it just wouldn't work.
No. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there'd be no
No
point.
one would
Like,
find it. Yeah. It's just,
yeah, no one would find it. It's just not the place for that. Me,
Yeah.
where I'm putting a lot of my SEO teardowns, I'm not even doing SEO for myself. I launched a Substack because I almost have 1,000 subscribers on Substack. It was really hard to even get to that. I have 50K followers on LinkedIn, but only a fraction of people see my stuff. But I would rather post the opinion content, the stuff that I know brings me referrals for my business. I put that on my Substack because that's where people engage. That's where the natural ecosystem effect happens with amplification. There's no point of me doing that on like an actual blog. And I say the same thing to companies. See, companies are too late on this. They're behind the curve. They're still publishing like, opinion content on their corporate blog, and it's not getting found. It doesn't have search volume, but it's usually not stuff that correlates to customer pain points or problems, at least enough to the extent that it gets pulled in by LLMs. Like if I were to show you guys any citation reporting dashboard or any export of the top pages driving LLM citations for any of my clients, it's overwhelmingly the pages we're doing for SEO. Like across the board, hands down, full stop. Like there's no opinion content written by a product marketer or a corporate marketer on any SaaS site that's getting, the top source citation on LLMs. It's just not happening.
Interesting. I have a question about that article you just shared, or that post.
Yeah.
It's more than an article. It's a big read. So, my assumption would be the longer the content, the less likely it is for a human to read, in full at least. I understand why you're littering in these third-party links. That makes a ton of sense to me. But I'm curious, like, is there, like, if someone is out there, in the audience, or even one of us, right? We're writing content. Are there going to be some things that we are writing more for AI? And maybe that's like from a length perspective. And I guess second to that would be, does human traffic influence what an AI overview will cite? So did you basically have to be like kind of balancing that line between optimizing for both at the same time?
All right, let's zoom out and chop that up a little bit. So like, yeah, the first part of it is like, I guess what I'm hearing is like, is there a world somewhere in the future that we're optimizing for robots and not so much the human experience? Like, I would say potentially. If AI mode becomes the default, right? Just picture this scenario. AI mode becomes the default Google experience, and 10 blue links go away forever. Maybe other search engines will then follow suit, but people don't use other search engines as much anyway. Like, I don't know anyone that uses Bing. People are using like Brave browser now and Opera and stuff like that. But, Google is the search browser that everyone's primarily using. So Chrome, if AI mode becomes the default, Google then loses its crown jewel, which is the click-through rate as an engagement decipher. It knows what people like based on click-through rate. It knows, hey, if people are engaging with, this video carousel more than these links, then maybe people really want to see videos for this search. Or, if 10 blue links are in a line and people are clicking a lot more on the third one and not clicking the back button, and they're engaging on that third link, then that tends to be the result that people prefer. In an AI mode world, that's all gone. Because the clicking is not going to happen as much. Clicking is going to drop by 80%. People are just going to get the answer. And then how many people click on the actual little citation callouts next to the answer?
Nobody.
Very few. Very, very few. So traffic is going to drop by 80%, 70%, something like massive when and if, maybe probably if AI mode becomes the default. So in an AI mode first world, now humans have absolutely zero incentive to read any corporate blog content unless they really want to. What's going to end up happening is the AI summaries just recommend the brands. You still need to optimize content and do, on-site content plus third-party ecosystem marketing. But what came out in the winter B2B SaaS survey is going to play out in real life and amplify, across everybody, which is AI is the discovery layer. People search, explore, narrow down their ideas through AI search. And then Google becomes the verification layer, where they go verify the things that LLMs are telling them through Google search direct traffic. So what's going to end up happening is SEO traffic is going to continue to plummet. AI SEO becomes the dark funnel. And then direct traffic and branded traffic are the beneficiaries of this on the backside. So you're going to see homepage go up. You're going to see, direct brand searches go up. And then something else you asked me in the beginning, Pete, do certain types of pages and traffic decline more than others? You remember I showed you the glossary, the FAQ, all that shit getting killed. The stuff that's going to remain consistent is like product page traffic, solutions page traffic, the integrations on your site. Customers or prospective customers, they're still going to want to know about your integrations, your help documents. I wouldn't expect those to lose tons of traffic because people go there when they want to buy. So you're basically cutting out the fluff, the great normalization. We're going back to that. Nobody needs to visit your site at the non-buying intent stage anymore. And they at least have to be at the curiosity or narrowing down phase, right? That's where all this is going. You're just cutting out all the shit that was never going to convert anywhere.
That's interesting. From there, so I work with businesses. I'm an individual consultant as well, with my one-man consultancy like you. We're holding it down, making it happen. One of the first things I do is sort of like a positioning and messaging audit. It's like, okay, before we start throwing out a bunch of different ads or top of funnel, kind of like awareness level top of funnel activities that cost money, let's make sure your messaging actually makes sense. It's clear. Like that's kind of that first audit I do. So and one of my principles is like use as few words as possible. Only say what you absolutely have to sell that call to action. Sometimes it's a demo, or usually a demo, or sign up free. So I'm curious, does that change a little bit where it's like, okay, we want to add a little bit more depth because we want there to be full understanding out there for a bot to understand, or even a person, but like, is there, I guess, a place for maybe like quick summary information at the top and then like more in-depth stuff happening on those solution pages, your features pages, your integrations and everything else? Or maybe you put that in your help desk. I don't know. I'm curious about that.
Oh yeah, that is a huge thing. In fact, this comes up with clients a lot. I'm just going to refer to a slide deck that I put together for a client, because this has been a huge deal. And this is actually relevant to our B2B because I work with one of your competitors, Demandbase. So there's some overlap between what you guys do. I wouldn't call them a competitor,
we're at the
but
bottom of the market in the simplest possible tool. They're at the very top of the market and have an incredibly complex tool. But
yes, the idea is part of it. So there is some overlap. Yeah. But I'm actually going to take you guys through something that I had to do with them called an entity audit. And I saw somebody in the comments talking about entity-based SEO. And this is where some of the technical nerd stuff actually becomes like more important. But I try to break it down as simple as possible. So the chief complaint was, hey, when the LLMs talk about us and 6 Sense, it's not about whether or not we're coming up at all, because we are coming up every time. So our brand recommendation rate is like 100%. What's actually mattering more is the context of it. Like, what is it saying about us, and like how and when a customer should choose us versus 6 Sense? Like, how do you actually distinguish that? And so I did do this sort of brand positioning audit that you mentioned, Pete, but just in more of the lens of AI SEO. So I did this. I used Claude to help me with this, but I basically extracted the landing page content, the homepage content, and ran it through a tool called ClearScope, which helps me align the brand entities. So all that means is like, if you use ClearScope to understand the word cloud of ideas surrounding a brand, it helps you dissect what those are, at least in terms of how bots view you. And it viewed Demandbase as an ABM platform with AI capabilities, but it perceives 6sense to be an AI-powered revenue intelligence platform. And what we actually did was look at the language that is AI-centric language. Because, by the way, the chief complaint was, hey, 6sense has a more AI-centric narrative and brand perception in the market, whereas we don't. We're viewed as still legacy ABM. So why is that? And how can SEO help us close that gap? And really the answer is that SEO alone cannot do it. We can help diagnose the issues and put together some tactical recommendations on how to close the delta, but us alone would not be enough to fix this problem. It's a big problem. So anyway, like all throughout the site, you can see like the demand-based variations in their language. It, occasionally talks about things that are AI powered. They develop something called Pipeline AI, and they talk about AI platform, but they get absolutely hammered by 6sense in terms of how AI centric their messaging and positioning is. And then it looks at the entity profile. Here's 6sense's entity profile. They actually have like a product called Revenue AI. And then this is the language that they're using across their solutions pages and stuff, which is helping them have that AI first entity profile. And comparing it, you see Demandbase has a weak AI alignment. For example, they don't have a branded AI offering. They talk loosely about things called Pipeline AI or being an AI platform, but it's not the core positioning. And so the recommendation is now to think about what are the missing entity co-occurrences with the brand that they should start pushing to be recognized as more of an AI first platform. So the fact that they don't have predictive modeling and predictive analytics featured pages on their site is a big miss. The fact that they're not positioning themselves with AI-driven revenue intelligence or something along those lines, AI GTM, generative AI for GTM, this is all the type of language that's missing from their solutions pages, their main messaging, that's causing 6sense to have an edge in their positioning. And so if you ask an LLM, if you had to pick which one is better for AI-driven ABM for a typical B2B SaaS enterprise environment, that's why it picks 6sense, because specifically calling out the predictive modeling, the revenue intelligence is their core strength. Meanwhile, if demand-based was my priority, I would have to be more aligned with account activation through ads and website personalization. So it's almost like Demandbase is like not happy anymore with their legacy positioning, and they would rather be described how 6sense is being described. But 6sense did that work, right? That they did that messaging work, that foundational brand marketing work to change or evolve out of ABX into this new world, this new evolving sphere. And so, yeah,
like I'm not sure it's really working for them, but they definitely did it. It's like
yes,
6sense is like you can't they're the ultimate smoke and mirrors machine. I'm not surprised that of those two companies, they skated to where the puck was going to be.
Yes. 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 So, I mean, I agree. I think whether or not you put on the corporate theater machine so that you can win at the LLMs, at least they got that part right. What happens beyond that, we can't really comment on because we don't know. Right? We're not customers. Like I don't use 6sense, right? Yeah. But for the purpose of this exercise, you can clearly see why that positioning and messaging audit, like Pete said, in the context of how LLMs perceive your brand is a big deal.
Okay, can I ask you a question about something that I've been thinking about? So
Yeah, go
like
for it, man.
I want our B2B, by the way, because this is a fact. This is what I want to just keep hammering on this as much as possible. So I want to be known as the cheapest, quickest, simplest, fastest path to the website,
Yeah.
right? To the website visitor. Because it is, right? Everybody else was doing it. Now they're doing 1,000 other things and it's all expensive. So like, do I just need to like on every single not blog pages, right? But I'm talking like the product pages that I have, the pricing, just like reinforce that message over and over and over again, and like try to get other people in the world, like, should I play this affiliate game too? Like, well, is the easy step one just to like go rewrite my website and say that 1,000 times on like 20 pages?
I mean, yes, what gets repeated gets remembered, and what gets remembered gets done. So that means, first step is controlling what you can control. Everywhere on your own site that has, any comparison against other tools, that section, like if you imagine like the Zendesk alternatives page where we talk about customer and the value props, I'm sure you guys have pages like that where you compare yourself to others, and then you do alternatives, and then you do maybe other types of pages like that. That, however you talk about our B2B has to be the same across all of that stuff. If your goal is to be described as the best for SMB because we're the most affordable, we want to democratize this access to information for every company out there. The other, big company overlords are still loyal to their PE firms, and they're going to charge you tons, and you're never going to get that from them. So use us. Like that storyline has to be apparent in all the pages you own. And then, across the third parties, anybody doing YouTube videos about our B2B should use that as part of their hook. It needs to be repeated over and over again.
That's going to be my lobby for 2026.
Because these machines,
it's like even simpler than the PE thing. It's just like, I want to be like, we're the only person that only does this. So it's like simple, quick, fast, cheap. If you need it, great. If you want all that other shit, don't use us.
That's a great differentiator. Yeah, it's as simple as that. I love it. What the hell else was I gonna say? I forgot, but yeah, go ahead.
I'm so curious. Like, I'm. It's so interesting because it's like on one hand, it makes rebranding more of a task because now you have all of this other stuff to sort of reposition yourself through. But at the same time, now when if you do all of that and you knock it out, and I don't know, let's say you just get heads down about it over the course of the week or whatever, it probably takes longer than that. But now when people are going to ask information, now you really do get a complete version. Like there's not these like ghosts of your, past positioning living out there in the ether. You can actually, now that we're all going to these bots to have information summarized and to do research, now you can really get a complete rebrand done, which is really cool. So it's like very much change that. But I think the end result is actually a more kind of complete new identity that we want for our brands, which is awesome. Dude, we could keep going here. I mean, we could keep going forever. Thank you so much for joining. We've got to have you back if you're open to it. We got to throw you on the list in the future. Hey, where can people connect with you? I'm sure some will want to reach out.
Definitely appreciate that. I'm down to come back anytime. Maybe when AI mode becomes the default, we'll have a shitload of stuff to talk about as traffic, plummets to near zero. If anybody wants to hit me up, just go to my Substack. It's marketingadvice.substack.com, and you can find me there.
Awesome. Well,
hey, thank you very much, man. This was awesome.
Thank you, guys. This was good. I appreciate it.
I didn't think someone would be able to break this down into a science as well as you did. And I'm just I learned so much. I know everyone else did. Thank you all for joining. Thank you so much for showing up. Next week, folks, we got Camberg Becker. He's the founder of Roasted. We're going to ABM. We're talking next week. We're talking some ABM. We haven't done an ABM
Oh,
episode in a
nice.
while, and my gosh, I think that's even more important these days than ever. So that'll be
Oh
awesome.
yeah. I gotta check that one out too.
Heck yeah. Come on in.
All right.
All right. Well, hey,
Thanks.
everybody, have a fantastic day. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Bye.